Nintendo has a long list of colorful and iconic games, but today we're looking at the ones who are not iconic.
Oh no!
Games with so much potential yet garnered none.
Wow!
Games disgraced by controversy, questionable changes, and financial disasters. These are the ones that have fallen so far out of the almighty Nintendo's favor that Nintendo will never, ever make another game with these characters again. Re-releases? Maybe. Remasters? Very unlikely. Cameos? Okay. Sequel? No. I'm Kevin, and let's dive into the Nintendo games that will never get a sequel. Let's start with a legend. Wrong legend. I'm talking about the legendary Starfy. I know lots of Starfy fans will be dismayed to see this cute little star on this list, but here's why. Starfy was originally conceived when game developer Hitoshi Yamagami was asked by his boss at Tosei to develop a floaty-type character. This became Densetsu no Starfy, which translates to the legendary Starfy. Published by Nintendo on the Game Boy Advance, its success would spawn 4 more sequels, but only the final game would come to the US. Yamagami has said that they came up with Starfy knowing that Japanese players would like him, but they weren't sure that the West would be interested in Starfy. But the 4th game, being the great success that it was in Japan, they thought that they would develop the 5th Starfy game with more than just Japan in mind. They wanted to bring Starfy to the world. Dropping the number 5 for this entry, probably not to confuse American players as it would be their first Starfy game, the legendary Starfy came out on the Nintendo DS in 2008. Then in 2009 for North America, the legendary Starfy debuted at number 3 on the Japanese sales charts, but ended up being the lowest selling Starfy game. In the West, sales didn't fare much better. One has to wonder if the change in art style from previous Starfy games and the fact that it was also more kid-friendly than other Starfy games could have contributed to the lower sales. The devs have admitted that there were no plans to release translated versions of the 4 other Starfy games in the US. When asked if the 6th Starfy game was in development, Yamagami said, "Yes!" Long pause, then laughs. That was in 2009 and still there's no new Starfy game. These days, Starfy is known for being the worst assist in Smash Bros. Starfy was never the huge seller when compared to other floaty-type characters. I mean, why make another Starfy game when you can just make a Kirby game? Plus, Nintendo already has a bunch of stars that are characters.
Time, like hope, is an illusion.
Captain Rainbow. One of the stranger games on this list, developed by Skip, published by Nintendo. This was Nintendo's foray into a tokusatsu-style TV show that was a video game. Tokusatsu is a form of live-action Japanese film and TV, known for heavily using practical effects. Good examples are the Super Sentai series or Godzilla. Captain Rainbow is the alter ego of Nick, who was once a superstar in the Captain Rainbow TV show, but a new superhero has stolen his spotlight. So, what's a washed-up celebrity supposed to do? Travel to Miman Island, where legend has it, the island grants wishes. It's an action-adventure game where Nick Rainbow encounters other Nintendo characters on the island, such as Birdo, Little Mac, and Piranha Plants. Captain Rainbow released in 2008, only in Japan and China, on the Wii, to abysmal sales. A devastatingly low 6,361 copies were sold in the first week. Then, rounding out the end of 2008, with only 22,682 copies sold. There was talk of bringing the game to Europe, but that didn't happen. It seems the US release was never even considered. Captain Rainbow featured so many Nintendo characters in his game, but was never featured in any other Nintendo game, not even as a trophy or spirit in Smash Bros. Captain Rainbow will forever be a one-hit wonder. Well, his hit wasn't actually a hit, so a one-flop wonder. Chibi Robo, another Skip-developed game published by Nintendo. Skip almost always partnered with Nintendo, and here they are with Chibi Robo, a small robot with a plug-in cable. Originally it was supposed to be a point-and-click adventure game published by Bandai. Then Super Mario creator Shigeru Miyamoto expressed interest in the game, and next thing you know, Chibi Robo had Miyamoto as a producer and Nintendo as a publisher. The Chibi Robo that released for the GameCube changed from a point-and-click adventure game to a 3D platformer adventure game. It sold terribly. So the next Chibi Robo games in the series were relegated to the Nintendo DS, which was a hot-selling handheld at the time. What could go wrong? Well, the next game being a Walmart exclusive sure as hell didn't help, so Chibi Robo Park Patrol was also a failure. But Nintendo decided to double down on failure and release more and more Chibi Robo games. By 2015, when the final Chibi Robo game was coming out, called Chibi Robo Ziplash, and it was for the 3DS, the game's producers saw that the end of the series was near, saying, "To be honest, this might be the last chance for us." It was. Skip has not made a game since 2015, and sources say the company shut down the development side of the studio in 2020, with many of the main creatives behind Chibi Robo leaving the company. There is a small, and I do mean small, possibility that Nintendo will re-release or slightly remaster the original Chibi Robo on GameCube, and I give the chances of this happening a 0.000000001% chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
No.
Before humanity. I am Dr. Edward Roivas. I am also dead.
The cult classic Eternal Darkness: Sanity's Requiem is doomed to remain on the GameCube eternally. Back in 2002, when Nintendo was being overshadowed by the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox, Nintendo wanted to shed their child-only image. Step in! Eternal Darkness, a unique psychological horror game, a collaboration between Nintendo and Silicon Knights. You play as Alexandria Roivas, as she returns to her family estate to find out why her grandfather was murdered. You'll be transported across 4 different times in history and across the globe. You go from Rhode Island to ancient Rome to Persia to Cambodia to France and back again, as Alexandra delves deeper into uncovering the mystery behind her family. The game has such unique sanity effects that they were officially patented in the US Patent Office. Despite glowing reviews, there will never be a follow-up, and that's not for lack of trying. Eternal Darkness director Dennis Dyack tried for a long time to get a sequel going, but legal troubles with Epic Games and Silicon Knights crushed this, because then Silicon Knights filed for bankruptcy in 2013. Dyack then tried with 2 other companies to get a spiritual successor to Eternal Darkness made, called Shadow of the Eternals, but alas, none of that ever came to pass. Nintendo still trademarks Eternal Darkness, which then sparks fans' hope against hope that Nintendo will make a sequel. They never do. But Alexandria does have some cameo appearances. The exclusive Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes to the GameCube had her in a magazine, and of course she is a spirit in Smash Bros. Ultimate. There has been talk of a remaster for Eternal Darkness, but that's been going on for years. And years.
Very well then. You will succumb to the horrors of oblivion.
Devil World. This game was made by Nintendo Game Master Designer himself, Shigeru Miyamoto. Tamagon, the little dragon, takes on the devil himself in Devil World. It was Miyamoto's first console-only game, based off the Pac-Man maze-like structure. But for decades, Devil World was one of the games from Miyamoto that was never released in the US. Why? Well, in the 1980s, Nintendo of America went to great lengths to censor any religious imagery in video games. They had this wholesome family image to maintain. So, a game named Devil World with crosses and Bibles and the devil himself plastered all over the game, it was an easy no for Nintendo of America. It finally did release for the Nintendo Switch Online, so that's good, but as for a Devil World 2, Miyamoto almost never mentions the game. Tamagon has had a few cameos in other games, typical Smash Bros. Game spots, although he is briefly in Tetris DS and the game art style, Picto Bits, for those who remember that game. As for the world of Devil World, I think it will remain in Nintendo's unused virtual hell. No pun intended. Doshin the Giant, probably just as strange as Captain Rainbow, is one of those god games originally released as a launch game for the Nintendo 64DD. Despite the eventual failure of the N64DD, Doshin the Giant's sales were good in Japan. In the game, you are Doshin the Giant, who came from the sea, and with your power as a god you can bestow resources and shift the lands for the local indigenous tribes so that they may build and prosper. But where you can be a benevolent god, you can also be a malevolent god, and bring about death and destruction among the innocent tribes. Both are satisfying in their own way. Then you peace out to the sea and get a bunch of stats on your godliness, and then you start over. Eventually this does lead to an ending, but it does sometimes feel like it's not quite a complete game, and they were going to add more to it, but they just didn't, because it was made by a very small team of developers. There was eventually a GameCube port, but that only came out in Japan and in Europe. You can get Doshin as a trophy in Super Smash Bros. Melee, but other than that, Doshin hasn't been seen since. Yeah, I don't think he's coming back. Hotel Dusk, room 215. Nothing like a good classic point-and-click adventure game. Or is there? Well, Kyle Hyde is a salesman, but he's also a former NYPD detective. You know, for character depth, and you're gonna solve the mystery of Hotel Dusk, room 215, which is a room that is said to grant wishes. As Kyle, you'll journey through the hotel interacting with the environment, hotel guests, and employees, and there's no lack of puzzle solving. Sometimes literal puzzle solving. The game became known for its unique sketchbook-style art design and immersive story, which garnered a sequel called Last Window: The Secret of Cape West. It was from the company Sing and published by Nintendo. Unfortunately, money troubles caused Sing to file for bankruptcy in 2010, which caused Last Window to never be released in North America. In the aftermath, all the devs of Hotel Dusk moved on to other projects, leaving Last Window a fitting last title for the last game in the series. Devil's Third, a Wii U exclusive published by Nintendo, and man did this game go through one development hell after another. From Tomonobu Itagaki, director of Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive games, ventured off on his own to create Valhalla Game Studios. Originally, Devil's Third was to be an exclusive for the Xbox 360. Then, Microsoft went into a different direction and the game moved to THQ. But THQ fell into bankruptcy, so again, Devil's Third moved to a partnership with the South Korean studio Dubik. And wouldn't you know it, Dubik went bankrupt. Finally, the game came to Nintendo. According to Itagaki, Nintendo decided to publish Devil's Third because they wanted a stronger presence in online games. The game would fail to do that in every respect, as the online multiplayer would be shut down in Japan after only 16 months, after it launched in 2015. An online free-to-play version was released on the PC, minus the single-player portion of the game that was on the Wii U. The PC Devil's Third Online would then be shut down only after 9 months. Sales for the game were not good, but then again, barely anything sold good on the Wii U. Now, the Wii U version of the Devil's Third, especially the US version, is a collector's item, fetching a hefty price tag on eBay because of its rarity. Itagaki has said he wanted to make a sequel to Devil's Third, even envisioned it as a trilogy. Sadly, the Devil's Third is more valuable in death than it was in life. Do you think any of these games will get a sequel? Which of these games is your favorite or would like to play? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up, and if you didn't, hit the thumbs down. Please subscribe and click the bell icon to get notified when a new video drops. I'm Kevin, signing off.